Nothing new about this one other than I'm going to tie this in some really bright colors. So I thought I would share that with you. So let's go ahead and get started here. We'll just start like normal. We'll come in here and the hook I'm tying on is a Tiemco 8089N. It's a nickel hook. It's not stainless. It's a nickel plated hook. So it kind of adds, says this fly is going to be a very bright fly. And so I like to tie these on nickel hooks sometimes because the nickel kind of adds to that flash of the fly itself. And I think they look good on it. And I know I've caught a lot of fish on these, on bright flies on these nickel plated hooks. So as always, I'm going to come in here and start by roughing the shank up a little bit. Then just add just a little bit of Zap-A-Gap. Zap-A-Gap, nothing new here. This is all the same stuff you've seen me do before in other videos. So I'm going to wrap, I'm using a white UTC 140 nylon thread, and I'm going to kind of define my tie down area here. Okay, so my first tailing material, I'm going to use some whiting Super Boo. I'm going to get a couple feathers from here. Take them kind of from the back here. Get like 2 of them. And then what I do is I match up the tips, you know, so the tips are even. So I'll match these tips up. Come in here, and about the length of the body, something like that. So come in, I'll cut it. Or you do want to pre-cut these. That'll keep this tie down area up in here where you're going to do the deer hair body clean. Now I'm going to go back. This is just some old material that I've had. It's just a sort of a pearl colored sparkle material. I've had it around for a long time. Nothing new there. And this is a way, a lot of times I'll use Fluorescent and lay it in, but this is another way to do it. Kind of have this, it kind of looks like a mess, but you just kind of put that whole bundle of stuff around the hook shank. Come in, you wrap it a couple times, then you pull everything back and tie it down, and just kind of comb it out, and then come back here and trim it off. And what it does, it kind of encompasses the tail and gives you a nice sparkly look without like a real big piece of flash or something in it. Now I'm going to use some Chickaboo in a fluorescent yellow. This is going to tie into the color of my deer hair body. Like I said, this fly is going to be a really bright popping fly. So let me grab a couple feathers here, and we'll just kind of matching up the tips so they're all about the same length. I've got 3 feathers here, but see, when you put it out as a bunch, it looks big with the feathers, but it's not too bad. So trim it, lay it in here. And kind of keep that little area right there, that area real well defined. And then finally, because I'm going to accent this with a little light gray bars on the body, so I'm going to just take one of these feathers, one of these. This also is whiting Chickaboo. And I'm just going to grab one feather here. And it's not going to be very much. You can see it's pretty small, but that's okay. It's just going to provide this little accent of color on top that will kind of match the pattern of the deer hair head I'm planning on tying with this fly. So there's the center of my tail that's been done. Okay, so now I want to come and do the body on this fly. And one of the things that I like to add into my deer hair bass bugs is a little flash of red back here at the back. You can see I've got a little red hackle in that collar, and having a little red back in the body I think is a good trigger for bass, because I think, most of the time I think they're grabbing these, they probably simulate little bait fish in the surface film that are struggling more than anything else. And having a little red, I think, kind of simulates a little gill flash. And it seems like the flies I have that I have a little bit of red in seem to work real well. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to show you, there's a couple ways to put red in there, but I'm going to just show you kind of a little bit more subtle way of doing that. So first thing I need to do, from a technique standpoint, there really aren't any different techniques in this fly. This is just kind of, standard bass bug. From a technique standpoint, it's just a little different, little different color combination is all it really is. All right, so I've got the hackle back out of the way. So let's come in here and let's get this top off here. There we go. Put a little bit of Zap-A-Gap right back there. And then I'll get my thread here. Get my gel spun thread. Clip some stray hackle out of there. All right, so let's go ahead and do our thread base. Start off, we're going to put a white belly on this. So let me get, and I'm using all Nature's Spirit belly hair on this fly. This is the white. This is that fluorescent yellow. It's a real bright yellow. Let me hold a regular yellow next to it. You can kind of see the difference in the color. I don't even know if the camera quite captures how bright that is. I'm going to put a little bit of red in it, and then I'll have some kind of medium done spots with a little black accent. So let's start here with my white. Comb it out and get 2 wraps right there. Let's roll it to the bottom, flare it in place. I'll add a little glue to it. Now I'm going to come in, I'm going to put a little bit of red hair right in there as well. And that'll just put this little accent of red at the back. Again, you don't need a lot. I think just a little bit really works well. And then I've got my fluorescent yellow here. And then I'll take just a little tiny bit of black. And then on top of that, I'll add my medium done hair. And that'll be a kind of a medium gray spot with a black ring around it when I trim it out. push that back. Okay. Come in here. We'll half hitch it and give it a little pack, although I don't think it's going to move much because it's right up against the tail. But we'll go ahead and give it a try and see if I can pack it just a little bit. Okay, so let's come forward a little with my thread, and let's get my white again. So let's roll that to the bottom and flare it in place. Kind of see it's in there. Some glue in here, up against that bunch behind it as well. And now I'm not putting any more red. That's all the red I'm going to put in as far as red deer hair goes. I'm going to go back here to my chartreuse, or my fluorescent yellow hair. So I did a little bit bigger clump that time to kind of compensate for the fact that last time I had the red and the fluorescent yellow combined, and this time I didn't. So I added just a little bit more than I did last time. Now let's put my black in there. And then I'll put this gray medium done hair right here inside the black to make a nice little ring. Okay, and now we'll come to the front here, throw a couple half hitches in there, and then come in with my hair packing tool, compress it really good, and then I'll come forward again. Okay, and then I'm just going to repeat that pattern all the way to the front. Okay, now I'm going to come in here and kind of look at these spots, make sure they're all kind of centered where I want them. So I can still rotate this stuff around before I trim it out. And kind of comb through it. Okay. So there's how much hair is in it, you can see. So next step is to trim it. Okay. Let's go ahead and take this bug and let's trim it out and see what it looks like. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of these little templates that I cut out. I've shown you how to do that in other videos. So I'm going to take that and just pop it on the front here. So you can see that's going to be kind of my outline that I'm going to use to do my initial trim. So let's get it in there. And let's grab my, I'm going to use my razor blade tool here, and I'm just going to follow the curvature. Let's flip this blade around, see if it'll cut a little bit better. Kind of want that to just slice through there nice and smoothly. Yeah, like that. My little guide came out, but that's okay. I'm far enough along, I don't need it anymore. And all I'm really working at doing is making the sides parallel. So this is like a little, it's going to be a little bit of an elliptical cross section cylinder is what I'm going for to start with. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors, and again, you guys seen me do this, where I come in here to that little, I got that little thread band in there. You can see it in there. I just put my scissors on that thread band, then slide them up against the back of the fly, and I'm just going to come around and clean that all up. And you see those little hints of red in there that are going to be nice when especially when I open up this my hackle collar that's going to have red in it too, and it's going to have a nice little splash of red there, which I think is helpful. I think it my thought is it kind of simulates a little gill flare of a minnow, and if nothing else, it just aesthetically it's kind of a nice little pop of color in this fly. So now I'm going to do something that I haven't really shown you yet. So let me go ahead and stop my video here, and I want to show you a little trick working with deer hair, and this trick is one that you're going to use if you're really trying to create these really nice, just really smooth, nice looking deer hair heads. It doesn't, you don't need to do this for fishing, as we discussed before. Okay, so one of the things I want to show you is what steam does to deer hair. I bought this is just I don't know if you can see it there, it's a Conair clothing steamer, and I got it at Walmart for about 20 bucks. I think they're not terribly expensive. But steam does this really interesting thing to deer hair, in that the deer hair just expands like that when you apply steam to it, and it makes it a lot easier to come into the fly and to trim it out. And if you're looking for those really just beautiful, smoothly trimmed bass bugs, steam is one of those things that will really help you along the way. Of course, you don't need to steam anything to catch fish. You know, this is just one of those little tricks, but I do want to show you this because it's kind of nice. And you know, so let's turn the steam on. There's a little button switch down here that gets it going. You can see the steam coming out. Now what I want you to watch is watch the front of this bug when I put it in the steam. You see that just pop right out like that? Steam the whole bug, and it just, you can see how it just made the front of that hair really take off. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to trim out my face. And one thing about the face of the deer hair bug, I don't use resins or glue or anything to make the face stiff and flat so it will pop water. I just rely on the density of the hair work to do that. And the truth is, this doesn't, I don't fish these where I'm just ripping them across the water and making them spray. This is more of I find deer hair to be a little more subtle. You can really pop them and make them work. Okay, so now I've got my face kind of done, so let's turn it over here and let me get my razor blade. And first thing I got to do is I want to take that little edge off there and kind of open the hook shank up at the same time. So I'm going to come in here and now remember, with the razor blade, kind of at a 45, and as you pull it forward, kind of draw it across as well. So you're not just pushing against the hair, but you're actually sliding and cutting the hair. So I'm kind of sliding through here, and I'm getting that hair to come off nice and smooth. You can see I'm tapering that down. Then I'll taper my sides down kind of the same way. Try to keep them fairly symmetrical. And then I create these little edges here. So I'm going to take those little edges off and help to kind of give this a curved look. And this is how I get the kind of the curves in the bug. I don't use a curved blade. You can, but just using the razor blade the way it is. The other thing I do is I come and I look at the profile. Let's see if I can get this really in the camera really well. There we go, right there. Okay, can you see that little high spot right there? There's a little high spot right there. So I'm going to put this in, and I'm going to take that high spot out of there. I'm just going to come around the bug like this. Okay, so let's come back here, and I'm going to take the back of the fly and put a taper on it as well. And as I cut and I create little ridges, little edges, I come back and then I take those edges out of it, and you get kind of a nice smooth curve to it. Okay, that's not too bad. I'm going to come and I want to take this down just a little bit. And it's starting to look pretty symmetrical. When I look at it from the front, it's starting to get there. There we go. You can see it's getting pretty cylindrical. There's a few, like maybe over on this side right here, I might pull that in just a little bit. Let's flip it back over here. Let's work on that bottom just a little bit. And you want the overall depth of the bug to be, a hook gape plus maybe a quarter to a third, somewhere in that neighborhood. Seems to be about the right size. And of course, you want to leave hair on the bottom and then when I fish this, remember I'm going to put floating on the top, the hair on the bottom soaks up water, and then that with the bend of the hook, the fly lands upright every time you cast it, which is what you want it to do. Okay. Maybe I might just trim this bottom just a little bit more, taper it a little more towards the opening the hook gape a little bit. Okay, I think that's looking pretty good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with my packing tool. And I'm going to just give it another little pack. And that opened up just a little space there. The body had kind of expanded forward a little bit. So let's come in here. I got a couple stray hairs here. Okay, whoops. Come in and I'm just gonna, I'm not gonna put a black, I'm gonna put a red head on this. Switch over to my red thread. I like red thread heads on my bass bugs. They're a nice little pop of color on a lot of, I don't do it on all of them depending on the color scheme of the bass bug, but for this one I like putting a red head in. I think it'll look nice. Okay. Take my whip finish tool, come in here and get my whip finish tool and finish that. Okay, now let's cut this thread band out. Okay, so I'm going to make use of if you notice the collar right now, how it's kind of sloping back. I mean, I could kind of encourage it to come up, but I want to show you once again what steam does to a fly. So we're going to come in here and I'll get my steamer going again. I'll just steam this pattern. It's off to the side here, but we'll steam it. And when I bring it back, put it back in my vise here, notice how the collar's just standing straight up now. Again, the steaming thing is nothing you need to do for a fishing fly. That's just, if you want to just create these really pretty bass bugs, steam is a really nice little trick to know, and steamers aren't terribly expensive. So all right, so now the last thing to do here is to finish out this fly, and so I'm going to start by putting my eye sockets in, and I'm using a cauterizing tool for that because it makes a nice precise eye socket. You can see the smoke. Smells awful, by the way. If you do this anywhere close to your family members, you'll be hearing from them. I guarantee you. Okay. images behind. So there you have it, kind of a fluorescent yellow. It's kind of a really nice pattern. It's got a lot of bright colors in it. You know, and this fly is probably about 80% for me, and maybe 10%, 15, 20%, I guess, 80, 20, 20% for the fish. I really like the color scheme on this one. It just kind of has some nice pop. I do think this red creates this little gill flash, which I think is a very attractive thing. So there you have it, a fluorescent yellow bug. And so hope you enjoyed it. And if you haven't done so, please hit subscribe to my YouTube channel.